Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India News Hour, India's voice to the world. I'm Ramesh Ramachandran. Coming up in the next hour, Pakistan stands exposed as 3 terrorists behind the Pahalgam terror attack, identified as LET operatives. The houses of 2 terrorists involved in the attack demolished. Lieutenant General of Governor of Jammu and Kashmir Manoj Sinha reviews security with Indian Army Chief and top commanders in Srinagar. President Draupadi Murmu on way to the Vatican to represent India at the Pope Francis's funeral on Saturday. And Russian Foreign Minister signals readiness for Ukraine deal as Trump asks Putin to halt strikes after deadly Kyiv attack, calls Trump only leader who understands Moscow's demands. Home Minister Amit Shah is speaking to all chief ministers, asking them to identify all Pakistani nationals in their respective states and take steps to ensure their prompt return to Pakistan. Meanwhile, Pakistan stands exposed once again as the 3 terrorists behind the dastardly Pahalgam terror attack have been identified as Lashkar-e-Taiba terrorists. The J&K police confirmed that one of the terrorists involved in the Pahalgam massacre is Adil Hussain Thokar, a resident of Anantnag, while the other 2 terrorists identified by police are Ali Bhai alias Talha Bhai and Hashim Musa alias Suleiman, both referred to as Pak National LET terrorists. Meanwhile, in a significant development following the recent terrorist attack in Pahalgam, the authorities on Friday demolished the houses of 2 Lashkar-e-Taiba terrorists in South Kashmir. According to official sources, the house of Asif Sheikh in Tral area of Pulwama and that of Adil Thokar in Beach Behara area of Anantnag were brought down through a controlled blast. Both individuals are alleged to have played a role in the Baisaran Pahalgam terror attack. The attack, which took place on Tuesday, claimed the lives of at least 26 people, comprising 25 tourists and a Pahalgam local. The demolition action comes as part of intensified efforts by security agencies to crack down on those aiding or abetting terrorism in the region. In a meeting with top army officials in Srinagar, Jammu and Kashmir's Lieutenant Governor Manoj Sinha asked Army Chief General Upendra Dwivedi to take effective steps to bring those responsible for the Pahalgam terror attack to justice and to intensify efforts to crush terror infrastructure and ecosystem. He said every perpetrator and supporter of the Pahalgam terror attack must be hunted down. The meeting also reviewed security mechanisms in place, various short-term, long-term measures and integration and coordination among various security agencies. Earlier, Army Chief General Upendra Dwivedi was briefed by the 15 Corps Commander on the security situation and actions being taken by the formations against terrorists inside own territory and Pakistan Army attempts to violate the ceasefire along the line of control. And joining me from Tral is my colleague Vishal Barrister. Vishal, first of all, talk to us a bit about the Army Chief's visit to the valley.
Well, a very good afternoon to you, Ramesh. Let me first tell you that I'm here in Tral, 50 meters away from the house of Adil Sheikh that was demolished in a controlled manner by the authorities late last night in the wee hours of this morning. That continued this wee hours till this morning. And I'm here reporting to you and our viewers, telling them that 2 of the LET terrorists, one in Anantnag, his name is Adil Thokar, his house has also been demolished by the authorities. Now coming back to a question, yes, the army chief is here. Today he was debriefed by the GOC of Chinarkor, and also he visited the Victor headquarters, and he was accompanied by the GOC of Chinarkor, and also he was accompanied by the Deputy Chief of Army, Lieutenant General Pratik Sharma. And they both also had a meeting with the Lieutenant Governor of Jammu and Kashmir, and they briefed him about the action taken by the Indian Army. And along with that, he also had a meeting with the Director General of Jammu and Kashmir Police. So the visit of the Army Chief gives a clear message to Pakistan across the border that Indian Army is all prepared for any eventuality, and very soon a revenge is on the cards.
Also, Vishal, we are getting news of Home Minister Amit Shah speaking to the Chief Ministers of all states, asking them to first of all identify all Pakistani nationals in their respective states and to ensure their prompt return back to where they came from. What more can you tell us?
Well, absolutely. The Home Ministry is taking this thing very, very seriously. In fact, the Home Minister also visited Ground Zero in Pahalgam when this dastardly act took place. 25 tourists were killed, along with one tourist guide who is a local Kashmiri. And the message is very clear that we need to also look after and search the moles that are hiding. That could be anybody. And as far as the Pakistani nationals are concerned, dharamshalas and hotels in Rajasthan, especially because Rajasthan shares a very long border with Pakistan in the bordering area of Jaisalmer, are also being searched. And the Chief Minister of Rajasthan, Punjab, Himachal and other states have also been asked to prepare a list for the Pakistani nationals, and they have been asked to leave the country. So all action taken by the MEA, the Home Ministry, Indian Army, military intelligence, it is all being done to find out how things proceed and how can we tackle the situation, because it's a big disaster. It's a dastardly act and a murder, mass murder in cold blood. So the Indian authorities and the Modi government at the center, they are taking all steps to take control of the situation.
Right, so as my colleague Vishal Barrister is reporting from Tral, the Home Minister has just spoken to all Chief Ministers, asking them to identify all Pakistani nationals living in their respective states and to ensure that they are returned to Pakistan in the stipulated period of time. Vishal also reporting there about the demolition of the houses belonging to two terrorists in the Kashmir Valley who were involved in the Pahalgam terror attack. So the houses have been demolished in a controlled explosion targeting the two terrorists who were involved in the Pahalgam terror attack. And also Vishal reporting there from Tral on the Army Chief's visit to the Kashmir Valley, including his meeting with the Lieutenant Governor of Jammu and Kashmir, Manoj Sinha, in which the entire security paraphernalia was reviewed, and also talking about the internal security situation obtaining in the valley as well. Right, well, let me go back to my colleague Vishal. Vishal, talk to us a bit more about the Army Chief's meeting in the valley, including the meeting with the Lieutenant Governor in which the entire security situation was reviewed.
Well, certainly, Ramesh, this is a very, very crucial meeting of Army Chief, and he was accompanied by the top army commanders along with the Deputy Army Chief, and they all had a meeting with Lieutenant Governor Manoj Sinha. Earlier, Lieutenant Governor Manoj Sinha had a meeting with the DGP of Jammu and Kashmir along with the DG of the Central Reserve Police Force, CRPF, paramilitary force, and both exchanged their information. In fact, the Army Chief, while debriefing the Lieutenant Governor of Jammu and Kashmir, also got first-hand information on part of what is being done by the Jammu and Kashmir agencies. And after his meeting with the Lieutenant Governor of Jammu and Kashmir, he also had a meeting with the Director General of Police, Jammu and Kashmir. So important meetings held by the Army Chief, and accompanying him was the Deputy Army Chief, Lieutenant General Pratik Sharma, and other top Army commanders that included the GOC of 15 Corps.
And very quickly, Vishal, before we let you go, talk to us a bit more at some length on the demolition of the two houses that belong to the terrorists who were involved in the Pahalgam terror attack?
Well, certainly, Ramesh, I'm 50 meters away from the house of Adil Sheikh, whose house was demolished, and the demolition went on till wee hours in the morning. And I've spoken to his family members. They told us that the security agencies landed to their house at 10:30 in the night, and through a controlled detonation, the house was demolished. When I asked them, when did you last meet Adil Sheikh, they said that we have not seen him for the last 3 years. So he is an active member of the Lashkar-e-Taiba, and people here tell us, and our sources also inform, that he might have slipped to Pakistan, and he is an active member of LAT. He was on the radar of the security agencies. But he is not here, but his house and the family members are here, and authorities have given him and his family quite a punishment, because what they have done, killing 26 people in cold blood, is certainly not acceptable. It is against humanity. I also asked them, his family members, I spoke to his sisters, and they said that yes, it is very unfortunate. When I asked them, the identity of the victims was first asked by the killers, asking them to reveal whether they were Hindus or Muslims. She said that this is very, very unfortunate, and we are all feeling we are feeling guilty. There's a lot of guilt inside, and we have no connection with Adil Sheikh. Yes, he is our brother, but we have not seen him for the last 3 years. So this is the first-hand information that I'm sharing to you through DD India.
All right, we'll leave it there. Vishal, thank you. Vishal Barrister reporting there from Tral on the demolition of two houses belonging to terrorists who were involved in the Pahalgam terror attack. Right, we're joined by a guest on this broadcast. Professor Harshvardhan Pant is joining us. He is Vice President Studies and Foreign Policy at the Observer Research Foundation, which is a privately held think tank headquartered in New Delhi. Professor Pant, welcome to DD India News Hub. Now, it's day 4 since the Pahalgam terror attack. What do you make of India's response? Calibrated, measured, deliberate? How would you describe it?
Yes, indeed, Ramesh. We have seen a very calibrated response from India, which is, I think, the need of the hour, because you do not want to rush into any decisions, in the sort of the heat of the moment, and perhaps that's why gradually India is building up pressure. So we have seen action against individual terrorists involved and the paraphernalia that is there in the valley, but we are also seeing broader repercussions of the attack when it comes to diplomatic ties with Pakistan. And one of the most interesting development, of course, had been the Indus Water Treaty being put in abeyance, which perhaps also signals Indian government's resolve into doing something dramatic, because this was something that had not been touched before, despite several crises in the past. So I do think that there is a calibrated approach to this whole issue, and we will continue to see actions being taken by New Delhi, which will put pressure, intending to put pressure on Pakistan and the terror infrastructure that they have created. So I think that calibrated, graded response is also needed, because India has to tell its side of the story to the world, and that is what India has also been doing diplomatically, reaching out to partners and countries around the world, and telling them what really happened, and ensuring that when India takes other measures, it has the support of the world with it. So I do think that we have gone in a very calibrated manner so far, and that graded response that we have seen will continue to be in focus for the foreseeable future as well, given how seriously this attack is being felt in all parts of India.
Professor Pant, you described India deciding to put the Indus Water Treaty of 1960 in abeyance as dramatic. What did you mean by that? Why is it significant? And what's the thought behind putting this treaty in abeyance?
I think it is significant because, as I said, India had not really, touched this treaty, despite going to wars with Pakistan, despite tremendous pressure being put on India by several stakeholders that look, this is something that India should be doing. India should not be taking this treaty forward and its commitments as part of this treaty forward, given how Pakistan continues to support terror within India. But India had decided that this is something that impacts not only the regional environmental issues, but also the livelihoods of a number of people who are sustained by the river, the sort of the river management around this valley. So I think now that India is taking that decision, this is also a message which is intending to be, to go beyond just the military industrial intelligence apparatus in Pakistan. That if the terrorists supported by Pakistan target Indian citizens, and this is certainly what has happened this time, that instead of targeting military or targeting military establishments, which are the symbols of the Indian state, they have gone for to target innocent civilians, cutting across regional boundaries, who were traveling, who were tourists in the valley. India side wants to send a message that India will also now respond in a similar manner by ensuring that the pressure is felt not simply by the Pakistani state apparatus, but also by the Pakistani citizens, because ultimately this is a war that is being waged on Indian citizens day in and day out. And I think that's why this treaty and India's response is calibrated and is important to look at from a wider perspective.
Indeed. And Professor, you spoke about how India needs to tell its side of the story to the world at large. In that context, what did you make of the Foreign Secretary's diplomatic outreach to brief foreign ambassadors and high commissioners and to, reach out to them and give the factual position of India's side of the story, as you mentioned, and the reactions from the P5 and other countries to that, Professor?
I think it tells you the story that, look, Pakistan has a habit, has entered into a habit of miscalculating. Look, what India has done spectacularly well in the last decade is completely marginalize Pakistan on the global stage. Pakistan's reputation as a sponsor of terrorism across the world is something that India continued to put on the global agenda repeatedly. And I think that is why you see this sense of desperation in Pakistan, that no one is really interested in what Pakistan does anymore. So now what India is trying to do is to ensure that despite Pakistan's global marginalization, Pakistan still continues to aid and abet these terror sanctuaries, which wreak havoc in India and which have the ability to wreak havoc across the world as it had happened in the past. And therefore, this outreach is very important. So for whatever action India takes in the future as well, it may be kinetic, it may be non-kinetic, but whatever action India takes in the future, it will have the support from the global community, because they would have recognized what are the latent capabilities available in Pakistan that Pakistani military intelligence apparatus continues to use repeatedly, first against India, but also against many other countries. And therefore, I think this outreach is important, and India has has done a very calibrated approach to this, taken a very graded approach to this by reaching out to the world, and the support from the world, the outpouring of support from the major players in the world is a tribute to Indian diplomacy over the last few years, but particularly now at a time of this domestic anguish that India is facing. To have the support of the world and the world speaking out in one voice shows that India has been really able to put its side of the story together and to articulate it well. And Pakistan has once again miscalculated tremendously by ensuring that its marginalization would get further accelerated.
Indeed. Professor Pant, over the last 4 days, we've seen and heard the stories of survivors, how some had a narrow escape, how the terrorists singled out men, identified them, and killed them in cold blood. The question everybody seems to be asking today as we speak is India's patience inexhaustible? And if so, what kind of kinetic action would you foresee going forward?
I think the kind of outpouring that we have seen in India post this attack is a testament to this growing sentiment in India that this cannot be tolerated anymore, because it is not simply about bad actors targeting a few establishments here in India. The way it has been framed by the Pakistani military, by the head of the Pakistani military recently, where he went back to the whole Hindu-Muslim binary, where he talked about the partition, where he talked about how there can be no coexistence. This is very, very disturbing, because this means that there is no normal engagement India can ever have with Pakistan. So when you have this kind of these kind of attacks, you really have to question what is the long-term viability of India living perpetually under the shadow of this kind of violence. And therefore, what you are witnessing now is this societal pressure on New Delhi that we really cannot absorb this anymore. And I think the government, Prime Minister Modi, has made it absolutely clear that there is no questioning of absorbing this and moving on. And I think this is the message that India is also sending out to the rest of the world, that look, this is enough. This is now, we have absorbed enough. We will take action at a time and place of our choosing, but an action that will resound in its manifestations and consequences. And I think when you talk of kinetic action, India has a range of options available. Whether it is targeting the terror sanctuaries, whether it is using the LOC as the baseline for making a statement, whether it is reaching out directly to the perpetrators of this attack and pinpointing them and targeting them. And I think all of those responses would be under consideration as we speak, because ultimately all of these actions have their own costs, but I think the costs are becoming in some ways the costs of not responding are becoming unsustainable at this point, and we will therefore continue to see a much more robust kinetic response as well from India in the days to come.
Indeed, the sentiment, the mood in India today can be described as enough is enough, thus far and no further. But that said, Professor Pant, before we let you go, one last quick question. What can India do either on its own or together with like-minded countries to change Pakistan's strategic calculus, either voluntarily or by force? In other words, where do India and Pakistan go from here? Are things, relations beyond repair now?
Yes, I think they are beyond repair, because ultimately it's now for Pakistani citizens to decide whether they want to live with India or not. Because it has gone beyond just a military industrial complex using terror as an instrument of state policy. It is now that Pakistani citizens should be deciding what kind of a relationship they want to have with a neighboring country. If the idea is that because Pakistan is a Muslim Islamic state and India is a secular state, perhaps there is no coexistence, but that's the way it is being defined by the leadership, by the top leadership of the Pakistani military. It's a very, very dangerous track for Pakistan to move into, where this idea that Hindus and Muslims can't live together is being almost institutionalized. It was always there in Pakistan. After all, that's why partition happened. But I think one of the things over the last 7 decades that has, that one would have thought had evolved was perhaps a reassessment that we have to live as neighbors, that we have to do normal businesses. For example, trade is still going on. So I think questions will have to be asked whether at the end of the day we should seize every single aspect of our relationship with Pakistan, not only as a state but also as a society, whether it means trade, whether it means cultural interactions, whether it means societal interactions, because at the end of the day, the mentality, the sentiment, it's the strategic rationale for what is being done is no longer it can be seen through a lens of a rational actor. It has to be seen more as a mentality of what jihadists perpetrate. And when that language is spoken by the head of a nation's, by the head of a neighboring country's military, it really sends out message that the neighboring country, in this case Pakistan, is just not interested in having a normal interstate relations with India. So India will have to consider all of those options and move forward. It can't be business as usual, and it should not be business as usual.
Professor Pant, thank you very much. Professor Pant there from the ORF talking about the Pahalgam terror attack and giving his thoughts and insights on the attack and the way forward in overcoming this challenge that has been posed to India. Right, moving on, the residence of Asif Ahmad Sheikh, identified as a Lashkar-e-Taiba terrorist, was demolished through a controlled explosion in Mongama Tral late last night. Intelligence sources have linked Sheikh to the Pahalgam killings. According to his family, Sheikh has been missing from Tral for the past 3 years. DD India's Vishal Barrister reports from the ground.
I'm here at Mongama Tral, and this is the house of Asif Sheikh, the man allegedly behind the Pahalgam attack. And yesterday in the night, his house was demolished through a controlled blast. This is the family of Asif Sheikh, but they are not ready to talk to us. Sister says that she doesn't want to talk. So let's try with some other. Arabia, can we talk to you? When did this happen?
जी
ये कब हुआ ये?
कल को
कितने बजे?
10 बजे 10:30 बजे से शुरू हुआ.
कैसे हुआ ये?
मतलब सिक्योरिटी फोर्स जब आई यहाँ से तो पहले उन्होंने तलाशी की यहाँ इस घर की, तो इनके जो घर वाले हैं वो सारे बंद है.
अच्छा, ये बताइए कि आसिफ को आपने लास्ट टाइम कब देखा था?
बचपन में देखा है.
अच्छा
जी.
तो आसिफ का यहाँ आना जाना नहीं है?
नहीं.
बताया कि 3 साल से आपने उसको नहीं देखा है?
जी.
और जब आपने को ये पता चला कि पहलगाम में इस तरह का हादसा हुआ, पूछ के मारा कि आप हिंदू हो क्या, तो कैसा लगा आपको?
बहुत बुरा लगा, बहुत ज्यादा गिल्ट फील हो रहा.
मुसलमान थे, चाहे हिंदू थे, मुसलमान थे,
हमारे
भाई थे, बहनें हमारी थी. हमें भी दर्द हुआ उस वक्त. नहीं, जिसने किया उसको पकड़ो. हमारे घर को क्यों ये खामखा डिस्ट्रॉय किया इन्होंने?
So there you hear, they are still defending Asif Sheikh, but intelligence has specific inputs that he was behind the Pahalgam attack, and there you see his house was demolished through a controlled blast. We have been informed that it started at 10:30 in the night. These are the remains of the blast. His house has been demolished. There you see, we'll go inside and we'll show you some of the visuals from inside. I'm going inside the room. This is the kitchen of Asif Sheikh's house. Here you can see, this is his kitchen. It has been totally demolished. Quite rightly, what the government has decided to give a befitting reply to all those who are linked with Pahalgam killing. And there you see, this is another room. This door it's dark inside. This door has also been broken. This is the scene here. Whole house has been shattered. The family is quite tight-lipped because of obvious reasons, and we know why. They are still defending Asif Sheikh, though they tell that they haven't seen Asif for 3 long years. They are still defending, obviously for obvious reasons, but we know that Asif Sheikh was involved according to the intelligence inputs, and this is the punishment that his family had to suffer, and the intelligence agencies are still on the lookout of Asif Sheikh. But he is not the only one. Another house has also been demolished in Anantnag, and that there also the man behind the attack is involved. With cameraman Mohit Uike in Tral, this is Vishal Barrister for DT India.
As the nation bids farewell to those who lost their lives in the Pahalgam terror attack, survivors of the attack recollect the horrific ordeal. Naksh Kalathia, son of deceased Shailesh Kalathia, revealed that the terrorists recorded the killings on their body cam. Naksh's father, Shailesh, a banker at SBI's Kandiwali branch in Mumbai, was among the 26 victims. The boy, along with his sister Neeti and mother Sheetal, survived the massacre.
हम कश्मीर में पहलगाम में गए थे. हमने पहलगाम में 5 पॉइंट देखे थे. उसमें जो मिनी स्विट्जरलैंड है सबसे टॉप वाला था. उधर हम गए थे, तभी गन फायरिंग की आवाज आई थी. हमें लगा कुछ हुआ था, हमने पूछा भी वो रेस्टोरेंट वाले से कि क्या हुआ, उन्हें भी कुछ नहीं पता था। तो जब वो आतंकवादी ज्यादा गोली मारे हैं तब सबको पता चला कि टेररिस्ट घुसा है, तो हम छुप गए। उन लोगों ने ढूंढ लिया, हमको तो वो 2 दिखे थे और एक ने आके बोला मुसलमान अलग हो जाओ और हिंदू अलग हो जाओ, जेंट्स खाली, और बाद में हिंदू के सारे जेंट्स को गोली से मार दिया।
In the wake of the horrific Pahalgam terror attack, global leaders have rallied behind India, condemning the act and expressing unwavering support for its fight against terrorism. From the US to Europe, Asia and the Middle East, messages of solidarity are pouring in. More in the next report by DD India's Antara Sinha.
Following the horrific terrorist attack in Jammu Kashmir's Pahalgam, world leaders have expressed solidarity with India in calls to Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi. Many nations have condemned the heinous attack. Conveying deep condolences in a telephonic conversation to the Indian Prime Minister, US President Donald Trump reaffirmed unwavering support for India's fight against terrorism. President Trump strongly condemned the terror attack and expressed full support to India to bring to justice the perpetrators of the attack. Trump said India and the United States stand together in the fight against terror. Australian PM Anthony Albanese also condemned the attack and shared heartfelt sympathies over the attack. He also extended all the support from Australia in the fight against terrorism. Nepal's KP Sharma Oli, Mauritius PM Dr. Naveen Ramgoolam, and Egypt's President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi also offered condolences condemning terrorism in all forms. While Israeli PM Benjamin Netanyahu expressed outrage at the dastardly attacks over a telephone call with PM Modi, stating that Israel stands firmly with India, he expressed solidarity with the people of India and the families of the victims. PM Modi shared the barbaric nature of the cross-border terrorist attack and reiterated India's firm resolve to bring the perpetrators and their supporters to justice. French President Emmanuel Macron condemned the attack, emphasizing France's partnership in combating terror. Japan's PM Shigeru Ishiba and Jordan's King Abdullah II also denounced the violence and supported global cooperation against such threats. Ishiba said that terrorism cannot be justified. Both leaders emphasized that terrorism is a grave threat to humanity. Italian Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni and US Vice President J.D. Vance also echoed similar sentiments. Italy's Meloni called Prime Minister Narendra Modi, reiterating full support for India in the fight against terrorism. PM Modi thanked her for the solidarity and affirmed that India and Italy would continue strengthening counter-terrorism cooperation at bilateral and international levels, while J.D. Vance expressed that the United States is ready to provide all assistance in the joint fight against terrorism. Leaders and diplomats from many other nations have condemned the Pahalgam terror attack. Iran's Deputy Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi also strongly denounced the attack and expressed solidarity with India, calling for collective global efforts to eradicate terrorism. UK Shadow Foreign Secretary David Lammy also condemned the attack, offering condolences and support for the victims and affirming solidarity with India. While Germany's Foreign Office extended heartfelt sympathies and reaffirmed its commitment to fighting terrorism alongside India. The UAE's Ministry of Foreign Affairs, in an official statement, condemned the attack in Jammu and Kashmir, emphasizing its firm stance against violence and calling for international cooperation to address extremism. These conversations between world leaders and the Indian Prime Minister, along with global condemnation on official social media handles of leaders and many countries, underscore strong international backing for India and a shared commitment to counter terrorism. Antara Sinha for DD India.
In a strong rebuke to the New York Times, the US House Foreign Affairs Committee has slammed the paper's coverage of the recent terrorist attack in Pahalgam, Jammu and Kashmir. The attack was carried out by the Resistance Front, alias Pakistan-based terror group Lashkar-e-Taiba. Controversy erupted after the NYT headlined the incident without referring to it as a terrorist act, rather saying that the tourists were gunned down by militants. The US House Foreign Affairs Committee called out the language, saying this was a terrorist attack, plain and simple. Still to come on DD India News Hour. US President Donald Trump signs order to ramp up US deep sea mining. Israel's army chief threatens to expand the offensive in Gaza if hostages are not released. And India's Vice President inaugurates Vice Chancellor's Conference in Tamil Nadu.
We explore various ways in which the delicate balance between urban development and environmental responsibility can be found.
We should have a target today that a minimal certain percentage of land must protected as for agricultural and horticultural purposes.
Our urban agriculture programs are designed to tackle food security and meet the nutritional needs of the poor.
In future, caves will become more attractive as they have a direct impact on the fight against climate change.
The government is going to implement a scrapping policy designed to take old polluting vehicles off the road to reduce India's carbon footprint. So we are converting existing petrol motorcycles and scooters into electric ones.
You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Ramesh Ramachandran. In response to the tragic Pahalgam terror attack, several markets in the national capital Delhi are closed today as traders have called for a bandh to protest against the terror attack in Pahalgam. The Conference of All India Traders said that the Delhi trade associations have asked for a complete market shutdown in response to the terror attack and as a mark of tribute to those who lost their lives. The Delhi bandh comes after trader associations in Jammu and Kashmir observed a similar bandh and took out protest marches on 23rd April to condemn the Pahalgam terror attack. The barbaric incident has notably sent shockwaves across India and the world. Meanwhile, to express solidarity with the victims of the terror attack, protests have been taking place across the country. Protesters are raising anti-Pakistan slogans and condemning Pakistan for the attack. And joining me from New Delhi is my colleague Dibyendu Mondal. Dibyendu, tell us more about the complete market shutdown in the national capital.
Well, Ramesh, at this moment we are standing at the heart of the national capital. This is the Connaught Place market, which is generally flocked by people from across the national capital region, and not just people from Delhi NCR, but also this market is flocked by foreign tourists who comes to Delhi to visit, because this is a very, very happening place, if I may say so. And also this is shops of all the high street fashion brands, as well as a lot of eateries that are visited by people from across different parts of the city. But today it looks like that many of them have decided to put their shutters down since morning in solidarity with the victims that have lost their lives in the barbaric terror attack that took place in Pahalgam. So of course, this bandh was called by the Traders Association of Delhi and the other trade bodies that operates in Delhi, and all the markets voluntarily did shut down their shutters today, being it a Friday. There's a lot of business post evening on Fridays, but despite that, the market owners, the market association and the shop owners decided to put their shops down, as well as carry out no business. This, they say, is their small contribution towards showing solidarity as they mourn the loss of 26 innocent lives that that were taken away by terrorists in Pahalgam in Jammu and Kashmir. So therefore, not just this market where I'm standing, which is Connaught Place, but there are other several markets, which includes that of the Chandni Chowk market, which is one of India's largest wholesale market and also the Sadar Bazaar market has been closed since morning, and we see a lot of people coming here also showing their solidarity and talking to people, saying that this is a day when we can contribute only this much to the pains of the families and the victims of who had to lay down their innocent lives fighting the terrorists in Kashmir. So of course, this comes at a time when the world is also standing united against India. All the political parties cutting across ideologies are also standing by the government to show their support and solidarity to the victims of this barbaric terror attack. Ramesh.
Dibyendu, thank you. Dibyendu Mondal reporting there from New Delhi. In other news, India's Vice President Jagdeep Dhankar is on a 3-day visit to the southern Indian state of Tamil Nadu. During the visit, the Vice President presided over the inaugural session of the Conference of Vice Chancellors of State, Central and Private Universities of Tamil Nadu at the Raj Bhavan in Udagamandalam, Tamil Nadu. Later in the day, he will also visit the Muttanad Mund Toda Temple in Ooty. Addressing the India Steel 2025 event on Friday, Railway Minister Ashwini Vaishnav highlighted steps taken by the Modi government to improve rail infrastructure in the past 10 years.
We have constructed 34,000 kilometers of new railway tracks. These include gauge conversion, doubling, tripling, many places quadrupling and new lines. Now, if you look at this is almost the size of German railway network. So that many kilometers of railway tracks have been laid in the last 10 years. We have electrified 46,000 kilometers of railway tracks. That's more than Germany, more than France.
Minister of Communications Jyotiraditya Scindia emphasized the growing importance of quantum communications in today's tech-driven era while addressing the third Quantum Communication Conclave in New Delhi.
This third International Quantum Communication Conclave speaks to India's comparative strengths and advantages, speaks to her capabilities. And this IQCC symbolizes India's next giant leap in science and technology.
The minister said that India is heralding a new future under Prime Minister Modi's leadership.
Under Prime Minister Narendra Modi ji's leadership, India is heralding a new future, a paradigm shift, not only for our country but for the world.
The conclave brings together researchers, academics, industries and startups who are working in the field of quantum communication to focus on the importance of standardization and testing framework and IPR creation in the areas of quantum communication, among others. To some world news now, Russia's Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov on Friday claimed that the country is close to reaching a deal with the US to end the conflict in Ukraine. Lavrov said that Moscow is ready to do a deal on its conflict in Ukraine after Donald Trump urged Vladimir Putin to halt attacks in a rare rebuke following the deadliest strikes on Kyiv in months. Lavrov's remark comes after Russia launched a deadly barrage of attacks in Ukraine's capital city Kyiv that killed 12 people.
Well, the President of the United States believes, and I think rightly so, that we are moving in the right direction. The statement by the President mentions a deal, and we are ready to reach a deal, but there are still some specific points, elements of this deal which need to be fine-tuned.
US President Trump said he is not happy after Russia launched attacks on Kyiv in 9 months, telling President Putin to stop as he attempts to push Ukraine to agree on a ceasefire proposal. The Ukrainian capital came under one of its heaviest attacks this year, with Russia launching drones and missiles overnight, killing at least 12 people in the Ukrainian capital of Kyiv. Trump's direct appeal to Putin came after Ukraine President Volodymyr Zelensky urged the country's allies to put more pressure on Russia to put an end to the war. Trump told reporters at the White House that his administration was applying a lot of pressure on Russia, and he reiterated his displeasure with the attack. The president added later that Washington, D.C. was also putting pressure on Kyiv.
We're putting a lot of pressure on Russia, and Russia knows that, and some people that are close to it know, or he wouldn't be talking right now. The Prime Minister understands that better than anybody. He wouldn't be talking right now. He's talking, and we're putting a lot of pressure. I think he wants to make a deal. We're going to find out very soon, but it takes two to tango, and you have to have Ukraine want to make a deal too, and they're being hit very hard, and I do believe they want to make a deal.
The global trade landscape has faced turbulence ever since the U.S. announced the heavy tariffs, sparking strong reactions from the major global economies. The tariff decisions made by the Trump-led government now seems to be showing the repercussions in the global economy, rippling across major trade partners. DD India's Shobhit Chandola reports.
German Finance Minister Georg Kurkis is hopeful to crack a US tariff deal within 90 days, but still posed a warning about how the tariffs could upend the global trade efficiency. European Central Bank's Joachim Angel concurred, adding that ultimately the US will also face its inflationary pressures, probably outnumbering the EU too. Export-driven German economy has been impacted hard. Germany's economy minister has predicted zero GDP growth for this year, blaming the tariffs for the disastrous performance. Meanwhile, US Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent has said that the US and South Korea are in trade talks and are slated to come to an agreement starting next week. Further, US Treasury Secretary has called China's export-driven model unsustainable. It's crystal clear that Trump's tariffs are sparking a global trade war, with nations grappling with its repercussions. The global trade market remains uncertain while the economic stability hangs in the balance. Bureau Report, DD India.
President Donald Trump signed an executive order to expand U.S. deep-sea mining for rare earth minerals in domestic and international waters on Thursday, despite warnings by environmental groups. Under the order, the Secretary of Commerce has 60 days to expedite the process for reviewing and issuing seabed mineral exploration licenses and commercial recovery permits in areas beyond national jurisdiction. White House aides said the initiative could help the U.S. extract over 1 billion metric tons of deep-sea nodules and inject hundreds of billions of dollars into the economy. The accelerated deep-sea mining policy aims to counter China's expanding control over seabed minerals by reinforcing ties with allies and industry. However, the move undermines a decade-long global effort to establish regulations for the emerging deep-sea industry. U.S. President Donald Trump's envoy, Steve Witkoff, will meet Iranian officials for the third straight week as the adversaries seek a nuclear deal. Witkoff last met Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi in Rome on Saturday, where they reported progress and called for talks among technical teams. The State Department announced that Witkoff would himself attend the technical talks to take place Saturday in Oman, where he held his first meeting with Araghchi on 12 April. U.S. Policy Chief Michael Anton will lead technical work on the U.S. side. Israel's army chief visiting troops in Gaza on Thursday threatened to expand the offensive in Gaza if hostages seized during Hamas's 7th October 2023 attacks on Israel were not released. Lieutenant General Eyal Zamir said, and I quote, "If we do not see progress in the return of the hostages in the near future, we will expand our activities to a larger and more significant operation." The warning came as the army issued fresh evacuation orders for northern areas of Gaza ahead of a planned attack. Israel resumed its military offensive in the Gaza Strip on 18th March after the collapse of a 2-month ceasefire that had brought a temporary halt to fighting in the blockaded Palestinian territory. Right now, take a look at what else is making news around the world. Nepal held commemorations at Patan Darbar Square in Lalitpur, marking the 10th anniversary of the devastating earthquake that struck the country. The 2015 disaster killed nearly 9,000 people and injured over 22,000 and rendered millions homeless, destroyed over 100 historical monuments as well. Hundreds gathered in Papua New Guinea to commemorate thousands of Australian soldiers who died serving the country during the Second World War. The Bomana Cemetery, the largest war cemetery in the Pacific, is the final resting place for over 3,000 Australians and serves as a place of remembrance and reflection. The Vietnam Exhibition House at Expo 2025 Osaka, Japan is attracting visitors with its immersive displays. Throughout the 6-month exhibition, Vietnam will showcase its history, culture, innovation and achievements, including holograms, VR and digital mapping. Thousands of mourners lined up for hours on a second day to catch a glimpse of Pope Francis's body. Queues of faithful filed into St. Peter's throughout the night and in the early hours of Friday on the last day to bid farewell to Pope Francis ahead of his funeral on Saturday. The Vatican on Friday said over 128,000 people have already paid their respects to Pope Francis. The funeral will be held on Saturday in St. Peter's Square. Roman Catholic cardinals decided on Tuesday, setting the stage for a solemn ceremony that will draw leaders from around the world. More than 130 delegations with 50 heads of state, including US President Donald Trump and India's President Draupadi Murmu, and 10 reigning monarchs are expected in St. Peter's Square for Saturday's funeral, the Vatican said. The Pope died at his home in Casa Santa Marta on Monday, aged 88, after a stroke and subsequent heart failure. So President Draupadi Murmu is on way for a 2-day visit to the Vatican. The President will represent India at the funeral of Pope Francis. President Murmu will pay homage to Pope Francis by laying a wreath at Basilica of St. Peter's in Vatican City on Friday. On Saturday, the President will attend the funeral mass alongside global dignitaries. India has declared 3 days of state mourning. Reaffirming India's commitment to the Neighbourhood First policy, India sent assistance consisting of medicines and vaccines for patients with thalassemia and sickle cell disease worth $2 million, responding to a request from Nepal. The first tranche of 17,030 vials of vaccines for immunization of patients with thalassemia was handed over to Nepal. Time for sports news now. In cricket, Chennai Super Kings will face Sunrisers Hyderabad in the 43rd match of the Indian Premier League on Friday. Both the underperforming sides will battle it out in the M.A. Chidambaram Stadium in Chennai, needing a victory desperately to keep their drowning playoff hopes alive in the tournament. 5-time champions Chennai have disappointingly transformed into near punching bags of the IPL 2025. The defeat against arch rivals Mumbai Indians last Sunday could well prove to be an irrevocable blow in their campaign, having now lost 6 of their 8 league stage matches. They are placed bottom of the pile and must win almost all of their remaining games to have a chance. Meanwhile, Hyderabad are also in no better position, sitting at the second last place with 2 wins in 8 matches. Hyderabad's all or nothing approach may have won them many fans last time around, but their lack of success this season has also drawn criticism. The South Asian Football Federation has announced that the 2025 edition of the SAFF Championship has been postponed to 2026. The SAFF Championship, which was previously hoisted in India in 2023, was expected to be played in a home and away format. However, it was later decided to be organized with Sri Lanka as the centralized venue, something that remains cancelled now. It will instead happen next year, and the dates and venue for the tournament are still to be finalized. India is the second winner of the SAFF Championship with 9 titles and is also the defending champion, with Sunil Chhetri winning the Golden Ball and Golden Boot in 2023. Moving on to updates from the ongoing Madrid Open Tennis Championships. Coco Gauff fought from a set down to beat Ukrainian Diana Yastremchenko 0-6, 6-2, 7-5 and book a spot in the third round of Madrid Open. Up next for Gauff is fellow American Ann Lee, who saw off Canadian Leila Fernandez. Second seed Iga Swiatek survived a scare but rallied to beat Alexandra Iyala and advance to the third round of Madrid Open. The Polish world number 2 and defending champion dropped the first set but fought back to take the next 2 sets. Meanwhile, in the men's singles, Joao Fonseca defeated Danish qualifier Elmer Mola in straight sets to advance to the second round of the Madrid Open. The Brazilian claimed a comfortable 6-2, 6-3 win to set up a clash with 11th seed Tommy Paul. And that's all for this edition of DD India News Hub. But let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. For those on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and around the world on the DD India mobile app. It's available on both Android and iOS platforms. Scan the QR code on the screen to download it. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Ramesh Ramachandran from all of us here in New Delhi. Thanks for watching DD India News Hour.